5 Hidden Gifts of Sagittarius. Have you discovered yours yet? Have you ever wondered why Sagittarius carries an energy that feels so wild, so boundless, yet so quietly profound? Beneath that adventurous spirit and the laughter that seems to dance with the wind, there lies a set of hidden gifts. Gifts so extraordinary that they can light up a soul, heal a heart, or change a life, often without even realizing it. In today's journey, we will step into the sacred spaces within Sagittarius, places not everyone is lucky enough to see, but once touched, are impossible to forget. These 5 hidden gifts are not just beautiful traits. They are pieces of a mission Sagittarius has carried from the beginning of time, quietly making the world a little freer, a little braver, and a lot more alive. And make sure to stay with me until the very end, because the 5th gift is the rarest one. The very essence that makes Sagittarius unforgettable in the hearts of those lucky enough to meet them. If you love soul journeys, healing energies, and the deeper wisdom behind astrology, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to join our growing family at Zodiac Wisdom. Let's open the doorway into the heart of Sagittarius together, where freedom breathes and miracles are born. Gate 1. The Inner Compass, Sagittarius Spiritual Intuition. When people think of Sagittarius, they often see the traveler, the dreamer, the one whose laughter echoes across distant lands. But few realize that underneath all that adventure, Sagittarius possesses one of the most extraordinary inner compasses in the zodiac. A profound spiritual intuition that rarely, if ever, leads them astray. It's not the kind of intuition that whispers in riddles or creates endless doubt. No, Sagittarius intuition moves like a clear river, straightforward and alive, guiding them toward what is true, what is meaningful, and what their soul came here to seek. From a young age, many Sagittarians find themselves questioning the rules everyone else seems to follow blindly. They don't rebel for the sake of it, they rebel because their spirit feels when something is false. They walk away from half-truths, shallow connections, lifeless routines not because they're reckless, but because a deeper voice inside says, "There is more. Keep going." I've known a Sagittarius who once quit a perfectly safe job overnight simply because they woke up one morning and their heart whispered, "This isn't where you grow." They had no plan, just a suitcase and a dream, but within months they found themselves living a life they had only dared to imagine before. Working with people they loved, building something that actually mattered. When I asked how they knew it would work, they simply smiled and said, "I didn't know. I trusted." And that's the essence of Sagittarius intuition. It's less about prediction, more about faith in the unseen path their soul already knows. Many underestimate this gift because Sagittarius often moves without explaining themselves. They don't sit and overanalyze every feeling. They listen, they leap, and more often than not, they land exactly where they are meant to be. It's not luck. It's alignment. It's a sacred knowing that their spirit was designed for a journey bigger than logic can map out. Maybe you've noticed this too if you're a Sagittarius. That subtle tightening in your chest when you're in a place that drains your spirit. That strange surge of peace when you choose the road no one else understands. Or those moments when, even in the midst of uncertainty, some invisible thread keeps pulling you forward, whispering, "Trust yourself. You are not lost." This intuition isn't just for your own journey. Sagittarius has a rare ability to sense possibilities for others too, often before those people believe in themselves. Have you ever found yourself encouraging someone to take a leap, even when they doubted they could fly? That's your inner compass speaking, not just for you but for them as well. Sagittarius sees the wings in others before they see them in themselves. You might not always realize it, but your belief in someone can be the very spark that sets their entire life on fire. And here's something even more beautiful. The more Sagittarius trusts this inner compass, the stronger it becomes. Doubt dims it, fear buries it, but faith sharpens it into a blazing arrow that never misses its true target. If you're a Sagittarius reading this, know that the world doesn't need you to explain why you feel called to go where you're going. It doesn't need you to justify why your heart says yes to dreams no one else understands. The world needs you to trust it, to follow it, to live it. Because when you do, you remind the rest of us that intuition isn't a mystery to be feared. It's a map to freedom, and Sagittarius, you are holding it in your hands. If you've ever had a moment where you followed a feeling, and it led you somewhere life-changing, hold on to that memory. That's not just a lucky guess. That's your soul's ancient wisdom, alive and well inside you. And if today you're standing at a crossroads, unsure of the next step, remember this. Your heart already knows the way. You only need to be brave enough to listen. Gate 2. The soul healer Sagittarius power to mend invisible wounds. At first glance, you might not associate Sagittarius with healing. They're the free spirits, the adventurers, the ones always chasing the horizon. But hidden within their restless energy is one of the purest, most unshakable healing powers in the zodiac. The ability to mend souls simply by being themselves. It's not flashy. It's not clinical. It's something much more powerful. The gentle way they remind you that life is still beautiful, even after you've been broken. You see, Sagittarius doesn't heal through grand speeches or textbook advice. They heal by inviting you back into wonder, into laughter, into the kind of hope you thought you had lost. I once knew a Sagittarius woman who, without even trying, became the anchor for an entire group of friends during a season when everything was falling apart. Divorces, betrayals, losses, one by one we came to her, not because she had all the answers, but because her energy made it impossible to stay stuck in despair. She would take us hiking into forests, singing at the top of our lungs, buying cheap donuts and eating them on the curb under the stars. Somehow, in her presence, it felt okay to be cracked open. Somehow, the weight we thought would crush us became just another story we'd someday tell with a smile. That's Sagittarius healing power. They remind you you are not your wounds. You are your becoming. Sagittarius has a way of seeing the parts of you that are still alive when you can only feel the parts that are broken. They don't try to fix you. They don't treat your sadness like a project. They simply believe in you stubbornly and relentlessly, even when you can't believe in yourself. And that belief, that unwavering you are more than this energy, is sometimes enough to stitch something back together inside your soul. If you're a Sagittarius, maybe you've noticed how people naturally drift toward you when they are hurting. How even when you try to protect your own heart, somehow you end up being the safe harbor anyway. It's not a burden. It's your medicine. You were born to remind people that no matter how far they think they've fallen, there is still more life left to live, more laughter to find, more dreams worth chasing. You don't drag people out of darkness. You light a fire so bright that they start moving toward it themselves. I want you to know, though, that being a healer in this world doesn't mean you won't need healing yourself. Sometimes the ones who heal the most quietly carry the deepest scars. There might be nights you feel exhausted from holding space for everyone else. There might be mornings where you wake up wondering if anyone will ever notice how much you give. And to that I say, please don't let the world's noise harden your heart. Your light is needed exactly because it's rare. Healing for Sagittarius is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up in a world that often chooses cynicism and still daring to believe in people. It's about laughing loudly even when you know pain intimately. It's about carrying hope like a torch when everyone else has given up. It's messy. It's beautiful. It's real. And here's the secret. Every time you help someone remember who they are, every time you lift a soul even a little higher than where you found them, you are healing yourself too. The universe sees it. Your soul grows stronger because of it. So, if you are a Sagittarius reading this and you've ever wondered why you feel such a deep pull toward helping, lifting, inspiring, it's not random. It's your gift. It's the sacred medicine you carry without even trying. And if you are someone lucky enough to have a Sagittarius in your life, remember to thank them. Sometimes the brightest healers are the ones who need to hear that their light matters too. Right now, if you're feeling heavy, uncertain, tired from carrying too much, pause, breathe. Remember that your healing doesn't have to look like always being strong. Sometimes your healing is simply allowing yourself to be loved back for once. Sagittarius, you have saved more people than you know just by being you. And the world is infinitely better because you never stopped believing it could be. Gate 3. Infinite creativity. The art of re-enchanting life. When you think of Sagittarius, what often comes to mind is their love for adventure, for distant lands and philosophical quests. But beneath all those outer journeys lies a much subtler, more magical gift. The ability to infuse life itself with creativity. Not the loud, manufactured kind of creativity you find on display, but the kind that feels like breathing. Natural. Essential. Transformative. A Sagittarius doesn't need a canvas to create art. Their life is the canvas. Every spontaneous road trip, every impromptu story told under starlight, every wild dream they chase without fear of failure. These are their masterpieces. Their creativity isn't about crafting things to impress others. It's about weaving magic into the everyday. It's about reminding everyone around them that life is meant to be lived vividly, not just survived. I once knew a Sagittarius man who turned the simplest moments into unforgettable memories. A rainy Tuesday became an indoor picnic with candles and old records playing in the background. A boring weekend became a treasure hunt through a sleepy town's antique stores. He didn't create for applause. He created because it was who he was, someone who couldn't bear to let life become dull. And every person who wandered into his orbit left a little more alive than when they arrived. That is the secret of Sagittarius creativity. It's not about skill. It's about spirit. It's about seeing a blank afternoon and deciding to fill it with color. It's about seeing a heavy heart and knowing how to lighten it without pretending the heaviness never existed. Creativity for Sagittarius is how they survive and how they help others survive too. Maybe you're a Sagittarius and you've never thought of yourself as creative because you don't write novels or paint landscapes. Let me tell you something. Every time you turned a goodbye into a dance party, every time you found a new way to make someone laugh through tears, every time you invented a new dream for yourself when the old one broke, you were creating. You were performing alchemy, turning sadness into celebration, fear into wonder, endings into beginnings. And here's something else that's beautiful. Sagittarius creativity isn't limited by fear of failure. They are not paralyzed by what if it doesn't work. They just leap. They just try. They just believe that something wonderful might happen if they open the door. And because they believe, it often does. That's the difference between a life that feels like a cage and a life that feels like a sky. And Sagittarius was born to live under open skies. Of course, living this way has its costs. Not every dream pans out. Not every leap leads to safe ground. Sometimes Sagittarius feels the sting of disappointment more sharply than anyone else because they dared to hope in the first place. But you know what? They get back up. Again and again. They never let the world's grayness convince them that color isn't worth chasing. And for those of us who get to walk beside a Sagittarius, we are endlessly blessed. Because every time we lose faith, they pull us back. Every time we start to live small, they dare us to dream bigger. They create new realities not just for themselves, but for everyone lucky enough to be caught in their gravitational pull. If you are a Sagittarius, or if you carry Sagittarius energy within you, I want you to remember this. Your creativity is not a luxury. It's a sacred flame. It's what makes this harsh world a little softer, a little more beautiful, a little more worth waking up to. Don't ever let it die out. Don't ever tell yourself it's silly or pointless to make life magical. Your art, whether it's a poem, a song, a journey, or a simple kind act, matters more than you know. And if you're standing at the edge of something today, an idea, a dream, a wild wish, and wondering if you should leap, let me answer clearly. Yes. Leap. Build the bridge as you fall. Create the life that feels too beautiful to explain. That's what you came here to do. Because you, Sagittarius, are not just a dreamer. You are a weaver of worlds, a maker of meaning, a guardian of the wild, sacred joy that too many have forgotten. And through your courage to create, not perfectly but authentically, you show the rest of us how to believe again. Gate 4. Inner strength, the quiet fire that never dies. To those who only see Sagittarius through the surface, the laughter, the freedom, the dazzling spirit, they might mistake them for someone untouched by hardship. But the truth is, Sagittarius carries a hidden fire inside. A strength forged not in easy days, but in the silent battles no one else ever saw. You see, Sagittarius doesn't advertise their pain. They don't sit in the corner of a crowded room crying for help. They don't wear their wounds like armor, demanding attention. No, they carry it quietly, almost reverently. They transform it, folding it into their spirit like secret origami. Beautiful, complex, and unseen unless you look closely enough. A Sagittarius I once knew lost almost everything in a single year. A home, a loved one, a dream they'd built their life around. I remember sitting across from them, expecting tears, anger, bitterness. But instead they spoke about new beginnings, about rebuilding, about how loss was not the end, but an unexpected gateway into discovering parts of themselves they'd forgotten. They taught me that true resilience isn't about resisting the storm. It's about dancing in the rain, soaked to the bone, laughing because you're still alive. That's the hidden strength of Sagittarius. A deep, unwavering belief that no matter how many times life breaks them, they can always choose to rise again. Not as a copy of who they once were, but as someone wiser, deeper, more tender. Some think Sagittarius bounces back quickly because they don't feel pain deeply. They couldn't be more wrong. Sagittarius feels everything, but they believe in something bigger than their own wounds. They believe in meaning, in the idea that every heartbreak carries within it a hidden lesson, that every fall plants the seed of a future they can't yet see but trust will grow in time. When a Sagittarius breaks, they don't stay shattered. They gather the pieces, sometimes trembling, sometimes cursing the sky, but always with a stubborn kind of hope burning inside. They know that the only true failure is to stop believing in new mornings. And they don't just rebuild, they rebuild better, wiser, freer, more aligned with their truest self. They let the unnecessary fall away. The people who didn't stay, the dreams that didn't survive, the parts of themselves that were never real to begin with. They emerge like fire from ash. Cleaner, clearer, more luminous. If you're a Sagittarius and you're in the thick of it right now, if your heart feels like a battlefield and your spirit feels exhausted, I want you to hear this. You are not failing. You are forging. Every ache, every lonely night, every moment you doubted yourself is another stroke of gold in the masterpiece of who you are becoming. And if you're lucky enough to love a Sagittarius, understand this. When they choose to share their vulnerabilities with you, when they let you glimpse the sacred, unpolished parts of themselves, they are offering you something rarer than gold. Trust it. Honor it. Because behind every Sagittarius laugh, every daring plan, every wild idea, there is a soul that has survived 1,000 quiet battles you will never see, and loved the world anyway. There is a reason Sagittarius is often compared to the arrow flying through the sky. It's not because their path is easy or their aim is always sure. It's because no matter how many times the bowstring breaks, no matter how many times they fall to the ground, they will always rise, knock another arrow, and take the shot. Again and again. Their strength isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It doesn't come from crushing others or hardening their hearts. It comes from something infinitely more powerful. The choice to remain open, to still hope, to still love, even when the world has given them every reason not to. And in that choice, that quiet, stubborn defiance against despair, Sagittarius becomes not just strong, they become unstoppable. If you have ever loved like this, fought like this, dared to hope like this, even when no one was watching, then maybe you too are carrying that secret Sagittarius fire. The fire that says, no matter what happens, I will still rise. And that, dear soul, is a strength the world desperately needs more of. Gate 5. Unconditional love, the quiet mission of Sagittarius. Hidden beneath the wild laughter, the restless journeys, and the thirst for freedom, Sagittarius carries a secret mission far more sacred than the world often notices. The mission to love unconditionally. Not just in romance, but in life itself. Sagittarius loves like the sky embraces the earth at sunset, without needing to be asked, without needing anything in return. They don't love because it's convenient or because it's safe. They love because it's who they are. It's stitched into the fabric of their soul. You might think that someone so fiercely independent would find it hard to love deeply. But it's the opposite. Sagittarius understands that real love, the kind that transforms, the kind that heals, can never be possessed, controlled, or bargained for. It can only be given freely, released into the world like an arrow sent skyward, trusting that wherever it lands, it will find its mark. I once knew a Sagittarius who loved a friend through the darkest winter of their life. Even when that friend pushed them away, even when they lashed out, even when the world turned cold and silent. They didn't stay because it was easy. They stayed because their love wasn't dependent on being needed or appreciated. They stayed because that's who they were. A steady flame in a world full of flickering matches. This is the unseen power of Sagittarius. They are not attached to how love is received. They are attached only to the sincerity of what they offer. They can hold space for your anger without resentment. They can witness your confusion without needing to fix you. They know that real love is not about mending someone else's broken pieces. It's about reminding them they are whole, even when they've forgotten. Sagittarius doesn't believe love should chain you. They believe love should set you free. They are the rare souls who can love you enough to let you go if staying would hurt you. They are the ones who can celebrate your victories without needing to take credit. They are the ones who, when you fall apart, don't rush to fix you, but instead sit with you in the ruins until you remember how to build yourself again. And perhaps the most radical thing about Sagittarius love is that it survives silence, distance, even rejection. They don't withdraw their heart to punish you. Their love doesn't evaporate just because it's not reciprocated. It simply flows elsewhere, into art, into nature, into another wild dream that reminds them why they loved in the first place. But make no mistake, while their love is unconditional, their boundaries are sacred. Sagittarius will give and give, but they will not allow themselves to be used. If their spirit is caged, if their soul is dimmed, they will leave, not out of cruelty, but out of deep respect for what love is supposed to be. A place of freedom, not a prison. And so, if a Sagittarius has loved you, really loved you, know that you have been touched by something rare and precious. You have been seen not for what you could offer, but simply for who you are. If you are a Sagittarius reading this, I want you to hear this clearly. Your love is not too much. Your sincerity is not a mistake. Your willingness to believe in people, even when it hurts, is a revolution in a world that has forgotten how to hope. Do not harden yourself. Do not let the world's cynicism steal your gift. The way you love, wildly, fiercely, and without a safety net, is one of the greatest lights you bring into this world. And if you're someone lucky enough to be loved by a Sagittarius, don't ever take it for granted. Don't try to tame them. Don't try to own them. Instead, walk beside them, wild heart to wild heart, and honor the miracle that is their open, unguarded soul. Because Sagittarius doesn't love for show. They love for real. And real love, the kind that asks for nothing, promises nothing, but gives everything, is the rarest kind of magic we have left in this world. Conclusion: Sagittarius, the keeper of hope in a fading world. As we reach the end of this journey through the hidden gifts of Sagittarius, one truth becomes undeniable. Sagittarius was never just a traveler of distant lands. They are travelers of the soul. They walk roads others fear to tread. They believe in things others have long abandoned. Second chances, unspoken dreams, impossible love. They don't live with cynicism as their armor. They live with hope as their compass. Behind every laugh, every spontaneous plan, every wild spark in their eyes, there is a heart that has endured more than most will ever know, and still chooses to believe. If you have a Sagittarius in your life, cherish them. They are the ones who will pull you back from the edge, not with lectures but with laughter. They are the ones who will remind you that no matter how far you fall, you can always rebuild. They are the ones who will sit with you in the ruins, hand you the first brick and say, "Let's build something even better." And if you are a Sagittarius, please, never doubt the importance of your existence. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be small, to be safe, to be silent. You are here to awaken things that have fallen asleep inside others. You are here to set fires in hearts that forgot how to burn. You are here to remind the world that even when everything seems lost, hope is still real. Your intuition, your resilience, your creativity, your unconditional love. These are not small gifts. They are soul-changing, life-saving gifts. Gifts the world needs now more than ever. So when the world tries to tell you you're too much, too sensitive, too reckless, too bold, remember, you are exactly enough. You are exactly what you were always meant to be. Keep laughing. Keep loving. Keep rising. Because every time you choose to stay open-hearted in a world that tells you to close down, you are fulfilling your sacred mission. You are Sagittarius, the keeper of the fire that refuses to go out. And the world is infinitely better because you are here.